Alright, good morning and hello everybody. My name is Aaron. I am one of the customer support representatives here at Aplos, and I have the pleasure of giving you guys the tour around the software this morning. So most of you that are joining us today, you guys are probably either very brand new to the software or just kind of want a little reference into learning and understanding how to navigate properly around the software. So that's the goal for today. It's going to be a very high-level overview. I'm going to go through everything as best I can, as fast as I can, and at the very end we are going to have a question and answer section, so please feel free to send in your questions during that time, and I will be more than happy to answer any of those for you. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get this thing started. So first, when you get into Aplos, you're going to land on this page here, which is the dashboard area that we call it. So that's pretty much your home page when you log into Aplos. This area is going to give you kind of a high-level overview of everything that's going on within your Aplos account. So for example, you see some metrics and graphs here, things like total cash balance, net income for the year, net income for the month, engaged donors. You also see the cash balance graph, some expense breakout graphs, and etc. These metrics and graphs can be moved around and selected and deactivated from the dashboard page if you like. All of those settings can be managed here by clicking on this gear icon at the bottom of your page. And so you'd come to this settings area, and instead of total cash balance, if you want to see something else, you can just use the arrows to kind of choose between those metrics that you want to see. And then as well as for the graphs, if there's information you want to see or don't want to see, you can go ahead and kind of toggle the switches here and change the settings for those graphs. Once you've made those changes, just go ahead and click on save, and it'll take you right back to the main dashboard page. Also to note on this dashboard area, you will see things such as alerts. So things maybe you have purposes that are unlinked, or maybe you have contribution batches that aren't linked to your accounting quite yet, those kinds of things. You'll see those alerts on this right side of the page as well, along with some accounts payable and accounts receivables notices as well. So if, for example, you're utilizing our accounts payable or accounts receivable modules in the software, you'll be alerted of the next payment due or the next invoice that's due as well. Okay, and another cool feature to mention about the dashboard is there is this little privacy setting here at the top right. So for example, if you're going to step away from your desk for a second and you don't want anyone to kind of see what's going on within the account, you can just click on this privacy or toggle that privacy switch there. And it's going to take everything away and kind of just leave up this page that has video tutorials and resources. All right, so that's enough with the dashboard page. The next area I'm going to show you guys is actually going to be down the list here at the very bottom of your navigation menu, and that's the settings area. So this settings area is going to only be for users that have administrative access on the Aplos account. So if you go into settings, you'll see some options up top here. So the first one we're going to look at is org info. So of course this is the information for your organization. So things such as the organization name, your tax ID number, when your fiscal year begins, address, etc. All that information you can enter in here. Also, if you have a logo, this is the place you would want to enter that in as well. And then you also have these communication settings here on this page too. So these communication settings, this is regarding the primary contacts for the Aplos account. So if you want to say that maybe you and one other person need to be primary contacts for individuals that we need to communicate with regarding like your billing or something new happening with the Aplos account or software system, just go ahead and leave those primary contacts in this area, and we'll be able to notify you whenever those kind of situations happen. Next stop here is the user section. And so this is where you would manage your users for the account. So you can add new users from here. You can also delete users from the page as well. So let's go ahead and just, for example, add a new user. So what you would do is just set up the first and last name for this new user. You would enter in their email address that they're going to use to log in with. And then you're also going to set up a role for them. So each user has has a role assigned to them, whether it be an administrator that has full access to the entire software, or maybe just someone who was an auditor and they only have read-only access to the software. There are a variety of different roles that you can set up here, and whichever one you feel is best for that particular user, go ahead and assign that role to them. And then as you also want to set up a password for this new user as well when you set them up. And then once you've got all that information entered in, you'll just click on save, and that's all you got to do for that. Moving along here, we're going to navigate here to the subscription page. And so the subscription page in your settings, this is where you would keep track of all of your, of course, subscription needs. So if you want to enable new things, or if you want to kind of see just what your subscription is made up of, or when your next billing date is, you can view that information from this screen here. All right, next page here is the activity log. So for the activity log, this is pretty much gives you the listing of all the activity that's going on within your account. So if you want to take a look here, you can see the date and the timestamp of what user was logged in and what kind of activities that they did during that time. You also have a file box area in Aplos, and so this file box is pretty much just a big storage space in your Aplos account. So you have some, I believe it's 1 gigabyte of data that you actually have. We did make a change to the file box, so it may be a little bit more. I'll have to find out for sure, but from last time I checked, it was about 1 gigabyte of storage space that you have. Either way, it's still a lot of space in there to add documents, pictures, whatever you feel is necessary to keep within the Aplos account. You can upload those files from here. And the last part here in the settings area is the Aplos partner page. So we at Aplos are partnered with a lot of different companies, such as Bloomerang, Church Community Builder, Continue to Give, Donor Elf, and Sage Payroll. These are all our current partners. There are a lot of other partnerships that we are working on and will hopefully implement here in the near future. But for now, these are the current partners that we have. And if you have any of these, if you have an account with any of these partner companies, you are more than welcome to link those accounts up with your Aplos account. All right, and so that's everything with the settings. So what we're going to do now is move on to this second tab here, which is the accounting tab. And so the accounting tab is made of a couple different things here. I'm going to go ahead and just start with this accounts area first. And we're going to go to the account list section. And so this account list takes us to a page called the chart of accounts. And this area here is pretty much the skeleton of your account. This is where everything that you do in Aplos is going to be based off of these this chart of accounts that you set up. So this is the page where you would enter in any assets, liabilities, equity accounts, income accounts, expenses. All that information would be entered on this page here. So for example, let's go ahead and just create a brand new, let's just say expense account. So for expenses, at the very bottom here, you're going to see an add group button. And so if you see that there's a group you want to add into this expense area, you would just click on add group, and then you'd provide it a name. So for this example, let's go ahead and just say other expenses 2. As you can see, I already have another one up there, so I'm just going to call this one 2. So save that, and now if I scroll back to this expense section, you'll see my new group was created. And then to add a new actual account, expense account, you would click on the plus mark icon that's next to each of the account groups names. So whichever group is appropriate, just click on the plus mark icon next to that, and that's where you'll create a new account. So for this example, let's go ahead and call this one 6161. We're going to call this one other expenses as well. Okay, and all that's required for a new account is just the account number and the account name. If you wanted to assign, for example, like an income or expense account to a particular fund that you've set up, you can do that. And you can also set these up as sub-accounts as well. So if you check this box that says make this a sub-account, all you need to do is just choose the parent account, so the account that this brand new one is going to be a sub-account for. You would just choose that parent account, and then that's all you would need to do for that. But for example's sake, let's just say I'm going to create this new expense account all by itself. I'm going to save it. And now rolling back to this expense area, you'll see my new account shows up right under the other expenses to group. Okay. Now moving down the list here in this account section, the next area we have is called tags, or rather custom tags. And so custom tags here, hi Jane, we don't want to talk to you right now, but we will maybe later. So for custom tags, this area of the software is kind of a way for you to break things down a little bit more, categorize things a little bit in more depth, if you will. So for example, let's just say that maybe one of the funds that you created in your chart of accounts is called fundraisers. And within your organization, you guys do 3 different fundraisers throughout the year. You guys have a spring, a summer, and a fall fundraiser. And so instead of just having the one fundraiser fund to keep track of, you can also utilize these custom tags and create a tag for each different fundraiser. So like the spring, one for the spring, one for the summer, one for the fall. And then what you can do in Aplos is assign these tags to your transactions. And then you can actually run reports based off of those tags, such as like an income statement or a transaction list by tag report. And so this way you can see, of course, you can run an income statement by the fund for fundraisers, so you can see overall what's going on. But then you can also break it down a little bit more to say, hey, I also want to see an income statement by my spring fundraiser to see how that did by itself. So that's another pretty neat feature that we offer. Next tab down here is the starting balances tab. So once you've set up your accounts, you're going to come to this. You would want to come to this area and set up your starting balances for all of your assets and liability accounts. We also do offer a budgeting module. So if you guys want to set up a budget for your organization, you can go ahead and take care of this from this budgeting module. And we also do have the ability to create 1099s in Aplos. So if you have any 1099 vendors, you can utilize our 1099 tags. And what it's kind of the same thing as the custom tags, where you'll assign these 1099 tags to certain expense transactions for your 1099 vendors. And then what you can do when it's time to send a 1099 to your vendors, you can generate that report, or generate that 1099 rather, from the software. Okay, so once everything's done as far as your starting balances, you got your accounts created, the next thing you're going to want to do, of course, is enter in those transactions. So you'll come to this transactions area. You'll see here that we have quite a bit of different options as far as entering in transactions, but the most common way that we recommend doing is through this register area. And so when you go into registers, what you'll do is you'll choose the account register. So this is going to be the account that you want to work within. So for example, I want to enter a transaction for my checking account. So I want to make sure that it's on my checking account. And then I'll come down here to this add deposit payment area, and I'll enter in the details for my transaction. So let's say that today I went to Best Buy and I bought a TV. All right, and let's say that for that TV I paid $100. Didn't pay by check, so I'm going to leave that blank. And then I'm going to choose the appropriate expense account for this transaction. So since this was a payment, I'm going to say that this was part of my supplies expense account. And then next, I'm going to choose which fund is applicable for this entry as well. So let's say that this is coming out of let's just say this is coming out of my building fund. And so once I've chosen all these required details, also note that this is also this place where you would enter in a tag too, if you wanted to utilize those custom tags. But since I have all my required information filled out, I'll go ahead and click on submit right here. And if it went through successfully like it did, you'll see it show up in this transaction history area underneath. So there's my today's date, there's Best Buy, supplies, my comment that I left, and then how much I paid, and then my remaining balance for the checking account. So just to quickly touch on a couple things here on this register page, you can do a split transaction if you like. So if this is a transaction that needs to be split between multiple accounts, you would click on, sorry, let me go back here. You can click on this split option right here, and it'll bring this new little menu for you. It's the same thing as you probably saw, as you just saw earlier. You'd enter in the date, payee, any comments you want to leave, the amounts, etc. Except when you come down to this account and fund area, you can click on add another row, and this is where you would split up which accounts need to be used and either a percentage or an amount of how much is pertaining to that account. Okay, so going back to this navigation menu here, you can see under transactions that there are plenty of other options. I'm going to touch on those very quickly here. So if you're familiar with journal entries, you can record transactions using this journal entry screen. This is for people who are familiar with kind of like the original way of recording transactions, you can say, by doing the debits and credits for each of your transactions. So if you're familiar with how to do that, you're more than welcome to use this area to do those entries. But just so you know, it is pretty much the same as entering things from the register. It's just an alternative option. Another area here is our accounts payable and accounts receivable modules. So of course, accounts payable is referring to things that you owe. So things such as bills that you're not paying right away, that you're making payments on. Those are things that you can set up within this accounts payable module. On the opposite side, accounts receivable, these are things that people owe you. So if someone owes you $1,000 and they're making payments on that to you, you can set that up from this accounts receivable area. Bank integration, this is a way for you to link up your Aplos account with your bank. So what you can do is link up your bank with your Aplos account, and then you can retrieve transactions from your bank rather, and then kind of categorize things such as which account and which fund should be used for those transactions, and that pushes it into your Aplos account here. Bank reconciliation, this is a way for you to kind of make sure that everything in your Aplos account is lined up with what's going on in the bank. So this is just a way to make sure that everything in Aplos is accurate and up to date. So you can definitely make use of that feature. The last option here in this transactions area is check print. We do offer the ability to print checks from the software. So currently we're only available to do draft or voucher style checks. But so any transaction that you have in Aplos here, you can also print out a check for if you like. Okay. I'm going to jump back up here for another second here on this accounting tab. So under accounting, you will see contacts. In accounting, you're going to see the vendors, the payees that you put in for your transactions. You're going to see these individuals show up in this contacts area. So if you click here on contact list, you'll see a whole list of just the different vendors and companies that you may have made payments to that you have recorded entries for. Within this contacts area, you can also utilize other features such as contact groups and custom fields. For contact groups, this is just if you have individuals in your contact list that you want to group together. So say you have some people who are like preferred vendors maybe or something along those lines. You can go to this groups area, create a group called preferred vendors, and then you can assign different individuals from your contact list to be a part of that group. And then you can run a report based on that, or a list too if you wanted to later on down the road. Custom field, kind of the same general idea. Custom fields is just if you want to gather more information than what we already have within the software. So maybe, for example, going back to fundraisers, maybe you have people who volunteer for a certain fundraiser. You can create a custom field called maybe Spring Fundraiser. And then anybody that was a volunteer for that spring fundraiser, you can apply the custom field for that spring fundraiser to their contact profile. So this way, again, you could run a report based on that custom field to see, okay, who actually volunteered for this event, and maybe we can get them to come back next time when we're ready. And then also, as you can see, there is a section for 1099s as well. So you can, again, manage your 1099 tags from this area as well. Okay. And so last thing in this accounting section here is the reports area. So with the reports area, we do offer a variety of different reports in the software. So a couple of major ones, common ones that I'd like to show you guys are the income statement and the balance sheet. So income statement, this is just referring to your typical profit and loss report. As you can see, right now it's set on current month, but let's go ahead and change that to last month. So you can see I have a snapshot of understanding of what's come in for the month and what's been spent for the month. As you can see, you can change the date ranges on this report along with all of our other reports. You can change it to the presets such as this month, last month, by quarter, by year. You can also choose a custom date range if you like. And then also some options to make note of here too is all of our reports are able to be either shared, saved, printed, or downloaded. So what that means is with the share option, if you wanted to, you can send the reports directly from the software in an email to someone. So maybe you need to send a profit and loss income statement report to your board members. You can go ahead and just click on share and then choose the email addresses for those board members and then send it off directly from the software. Another option is to save. So for example, if you have a certain report, you've customized it and filtered it a certain way, and you're going to use that report again and again later on down the road. What you can do is save the report. So this pretty much saves the report you're working on as is. And then once you go back to this reports area, you'll be able to locate that saved report here in the saved report section. And that'll just bring up the report exactly how you had it before with the same filters, same customizations, etc. And then of course you can print out the report if you like, if you need to keep like a hand copy, and then also download if you want to download the report as either an Excel file or a PDF. Okay, and then as I mentioned, I'm going to also show you this balance sheet report. So the balance sheet is just a snapshot of everything, of all the current balances for your assets, your liabilities, and your equity accounts. So this report does run on an as of date, so it's not a date range, but you can see as of May 3rd, this is where everything stands as far as my accounts go, so assets, liabilities, and equity. Oh, and before I forget, also there is a gear icon here on the top of the accounting tab that you can use, and this is pretty much just the advanced settings area under the accounting tab. So those modules that I referred to earlier, the payable, receivable, integration, all of those, if you wanted to utilize those, you can come to this advanced settings area and choose to enable those modules. They are all included with your accounting subscription, so there's no additional charges to enable those. Or if you decide that maybe you don't want to use those modules and you don't want to see them show up as options, you can also go ahead and hide them too, and that'll disable it. So you won't be able to use that. All right, so then going down the list, we are coming to this donor management tab in your navigation menu. So the donor management area, this is where you're going to handle all of the donations that you need to record for your organization. And so starting this off, we're going to come to this fundraising tab here, and you'll see some options, but I'm going to jump down to the very bottom here and go to purposes. So in Aplos, purposes are the ways that we track donations in the software. So purposes is just referring to reasons why people give to your organization. So these are things like, again, fundraisers, or maybe you guys have a dinner going on, or maybe you guys have some kind of charity function going that people are giving to. any reason that people are giving to your organization, you would want to create a purpose for an Aplos. So to create a new one, you would just come up to the top here where it says create new. I'm going to give mine a name and just call it, just kind of call mine spring dinner. And then with each purpose, what you can do is you can actually link these to an income account and a fund, so that any donations that you record will also automatically be recorded on the accounting side of the software as well. So I'm going to go ahead and choose my income account. I'm going to go ahead and choose the fund that this purpose is referring to. And then also, if you wanted to, this isn't required, but if you're utilizing those custom tags, again, you can add a tag here as well to keep track of those. All right, and so once you've got everything that's required in, you would just click on Save. And as you can see, there's my spring dinner purpose. And if you linked it up properly, you'll see this blue little chain link icon that lets you know that it is properly linked. If you saw something like this guy where it's a broken chain link, then of course that's going to mean that your purpose is not linked up to the accounting. And once you have your purposes all set up and ready to go, this is when you would want to come back up top here and go to this contribution section. So this contribution section takes you to a deposit page, and this is where you would enter in these donations. You'll start off by going to this Create Deposit tab. It's going to pop up a new window for you, and then you'll start entering the details for your contributions. So start off, you'll put in the batch date. So we're going to stay with today's date. And then you're also going to want to put a batch name for this deposit. So in this case, I'm going to say that this was for the spring dinner. And then you can also leave an additional description if you like, but that is optional. And then once you got those details in, you're going to start entering in the donations that are coming in. So for example, this date column here, it's not a required field, but for example, let's just say that maybe you received a donation for this dinner maybe on May 1st instead of May 3rd. So you would just go to the date column, you would say May 1st. If your donor paid by check, you can leave a check number there. And then you can start entering in the required details such as the donor name, which is, let's just say John Doe. And then the purpose that they're giving to, let's just go ahead and say spring dinner, of course. And then they gave $10. Okay, and so before I move on, so going back to this date column here, so for example, if your donor gave on 5/1, but it's part of your deposit that you put in for 5/3, on the accounting side, it is going to show as the batch date, but for your donor record, like when you print out contribution statements from the software, since that is something that we do offer, it would show up as this 5/1 date, since that's when they actually gave the donation. All right, so then coming back over here to these columns, after you've entered in the amount, you can also enter in a non-tax deductible amount. So for example, if part of the donation is non-tax deductible, so maybe for this spring dinner, since they only paid $10, let's say maybe they purchased a ticket which was worth $5, but they gave you 10 altogether, so that additional 5 is tax deductible, whereas the $5 for the ticket is not tax deductible. If that were the case, you would just come to this area, type in the amount that's non-tax deductible, and then if the whole thing was non-tax deductible, then you could check this box. But since it's only partial, we're just going to leave that unchecked, and then you could save that as is. This last column here, or second to last, for expense amount, this pertains to if a transaction has an expense to it, associated with it rather. So most commonly this refers to like online donations. So if there are kind of transaction fees that apply to those donations, you could enter in that expense amount in this column here for those fees. And then once you have all those details entered in, you're going to go ahead and just click on Save. And so now, as you can see in this little history section here, there's my deposit for May 3rd and for spring dinner. It consists of one contributor, and it's $10 altogether. And so if you wanted to view those details, you would just hover over the entry that you want to work on, and then click on the update option at the far right side. And this will bring up the original entry for you. And then also, as I was mentioning, these are, if you've linked up your purposes to the income account and fund, you can click on this tab right here for accounting transaction. And what that's going to do is take you to the entry that was recorded on the accounting side. And then if you want to go back, there's a line here for source contribution. You just click on that link, and it'll take you right back to the contributions area. All right. Some other things that I'd like to note real quick here is we do offer the ability to receive online donations in Aplos. So what you would want to do is create an online form from Aplos, and then once you do that, you can either add this form to your site via like a donate button or a URL link, or you can also share this via email or social media too, if you'd like. So that is an option that we do offer in the software. And if you'd like more details, please feel free to just let us know, and we'd be more than happy to kind of help you understand how that process is done. All right. So then let's go back up here real quick to the contacts area. So the contacts, as you noted, there are contacts for the accounting side, and there's also a contacts area for the donor side of things too. So all of your donors that you've entered contributions for, they're going to end up in this contact section under the donor management section. Again, you have your contact groups, you have your custom fields. So I'm going to go back to this contact list here real quick, and I'm actually going to show you, since I didn't do this before, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to add a new contact into the system. So in the contacts area, you would come to this button that says Add New Contact. And you'll come to this page where you can enter all the details that are necessary for your new contact. So you can put in, if they're a company, put in the company name, their gender, their titles like Mr., Mrs., Doctor, first and last name, any important dates like their birthday. All right, and then also you can add, if you apply custom fields, you'll see those custom fields in this area. You can add a phone number, email, address, etc. Once you have all these emails in, you can choose to either save and close, which will save this contact and take you back to the contact list. Or if you click on Save and Add, it's going to save this current contact that you're working on, and then bring up a new blank contact, create contact field, so that you can start entering in another contact if you're doing multiples. So I'm going to cancel out of that. All right, and so then a couple other options to note too. We do offer the ability to import contacts. So if you're brand new to Aplos and you want to enter or import your contact list of donors, you can definitely go ahead and do that by just gathering your information into an Excel file and then uploading that into the software. And then also, if you wanted to export this information for your contacts, you can also do that by clicking on this export option to the far right. Okay, so the last thing on this donor management tab is the report section. So it's kind of similar to the accounting. There are a variety of different reports that you can utilize. So for this donation section particularly, we have the donations by contact report and the contact list report. So contact list, of course, is going to show you the list of all your donors that you have in the software. And if you want to include different columns to show different pieces of information like the address, email, phone number, etc., you can apply those too. And then with the donations by contact report, this is going to show you a listing of all of your donors for a certain period of time. And then it'll show you a summary of how much has been given by those individuals. If you wanted to, you can come to this report layout section and choose to see more details on this report as well, which would show you all the individual entries that certain donor has given. And then this report is also the area where you would come to print contribution statements if you like. All right. So for today, that's everything that I can show you guys regarding the software. So what I'm going to do at this time is put myself on mute for a few minutes. This is the point of the webinar where we're going to do our question and answer section. For those of you who are ready to go for the day and got enough information, thank you again for joining us. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and put myself on mute right now and open it up for any questions that you may have. Please go ahead and just enter those questions in the questions area on your webinar menu there. And I will be back with you guys in, let's say, about 2-3 minutes. Thanks. Okay, everybody, so I am back on. Looking at the questions area, it doesn't look like anyone submitted any questions, so I'm hoping everything that we went over today made a whole lot of sense, and that's a good thing. So since there aren't any questions, let me go ahead and just show you one more thing then for today while we're all still together. Let me go ahead and do this real quick. Okay, and so coming back onto the software, there's another section here on your menu that's called the Need Help area. What you can do is click on this section, and it's going to take you to our Support Center page. And so this Support Center page is where we keep all of our articles and tutorial videos to complete and trying to understand how to perform different tasks within the software. What you can do, there's different categories here that you can kind of click through and take a look at that relates to different articles and videos. Or you can come up to this search area here at the top where it says, how can we help? And start typing in what kind of task you're trying to accomplish. So let's just say for today, we're trying to set up our chart of accounts. So chart of accounts. So as you can see, there's a few different options here. There is one that's called specifically setting up your chart of accounts. So if you click on that, it's going to take you to the article. And so as you can see, there's a lot of description about how to properly set up your chart of accounts. And it does include a couple of tutorial videos that kind of help guide you along the way as well. And so definitely, if you have any kind of questions or if you're getting stuck on any part of the software, just feel free to come to this page and see if we do offer a tutorial video or an article that would be able to help you out, since we do want to make sure that you fully understand the software and are doing everything properly and getting your accounting and donation handling accomplished successfully. And if those articles or videos just quite aren't hitting it for you and you need a little bit of additional advice or help, assistance, you can definitely contact our support team. Our support team is always free and available. I mean, granted, we do have our office hours, of course, and you can find that information down here on the Support Center area page as well. So we are available in the office Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can either call us at the 800 number located here. You can also email us at support@aplos.com. And then another way that you can get in touch with us is through this Messenger app located in the lower right corner of your Aplos account. If you click on that icon, it's going to pop up a little conversation window here, and you can click on New Conversation and start typing your message. As far as the Messenger app, this is not a live chat, unfortunately, but we do try to get back to those messages within the first half hour to 45 minutes. So it is a little bit of a quicker way to get in touch with us. But again, you can always reach out to us either through the phone or via email as well, if you'd like. All right, so that is everything for the webinar today that I can show you guys for today. Thank you very much for joining us and being with me on this little tour. If you have any questions or just like to have any questions or concerns that you'd like to talk to us about, just feel free to reach out. We'll be more than happy to listen and provide any assistance that we can. So again, thank you guys for joining for the webinar today, and I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. Thanks. Bye.